Hello students, this is your history lesson. Today we are going to read chapter 15, Social and Cultural Developments from Understanding History for class 6. So we start our lesson. Have a look on Glossary first. Pivotal, of crucial importance in relation to the development or success of something else. Inhabitant, a person or animal that lives in or occupies a place. Distinct, recognizably different in nature from something else of a similar type. Intrigues, a secret plan to harm or cheat someone, or the process of making such a plan. Judicial are related to court and legal systems. Abolished, formally put on an and to, formally put an and to. Refinement, the process of removing impurities or unwanted elements from a substance. Stipends, a fixed regular sum paid as a salary or as expenses to a clergyman, teacher, or public official. Grandeur, splendor, and impressiveness, especially of appearance or style. Piety, great respect for good and religion. Urs, festival, usually linked to a saint's birthday. Discriminate, to treat others unfairly with a difference. Disciple, follower. Khanka, hostel for students. Arabesques, an ornamental design consisting of intertwined, flowing lines originally found ancient Islamic art. Enameled, coated or decorated with enamel. And what is enamel? A decorative glass like substance that is melted onto clay, metal, or glass object and then left to cool and become hard. Artisans, a worker in a skilled trade, especially one that involves making things by hand. Peasants or peasant, a person who owns or rents a small piece of land and grows crops, keeps animals, etc. Now come to the reading. This is page number 82 from your book. Social and cultural developments. The arrival of the Muslims in the subcontinent brought great changes in the society and culture of the inhabitants of India. Inhabitant, a person or animal that lives in or occupies a place. The Muslims, Arabs, Turks, Afghans, Persians, and from Central Asia brought their religion, language, culture, and traditions. Over time, Islamic traditions combined with Indian customs to become a distinct culture, distinct, recognizably different in nature from something else of a similar type. Not all of the Muslims came as conquerors. There were traders, scholars, travelers. Their interaction with local people brought about change of faith. Religion was not forced on the local population. The Sufis played a pivotal role in conversions to Islam, pivotal of crucial importance in relation to the development or success of something else. Since there was no caste system or division on the basis of birth in Islam, those who converted were treated as equals and given appointments according to merit. The Sultanate of Delhi was based on military force, so the sultans had to keep large standing armies or depend upon their nobles to provide soldiers. This made the nobles of the Sultanate powerful as they served in the army and could keep their own soldiers. The Sultan gave the nobles grants of land or jagirs for the upkeep of their soldiers, who then fought for the Sultan in times of war. The Turkish nobles, or the 40, as we have read in previous chapter, as they were called, played an important role in the affairs of the Sultanate. They were kingmakers who often put sultans on the throne or removed them. Thus, there were intrigues at the court. Intrigues, a secret plan to harm or cheat someone, or the process of making such a plan. Thus, there were intrigues at the court, and the wiser sultans tried to control the nobles' power. The rule of the sultans was based on Sharia, and in the khutbah, the name of the Khalifa of the time was read before the sultans. The ulama occupied a primary position and advised the sultan on the Sharia or laws of Islam. The qazis and muftis dealt with judicial cases and gave justice. Judicial are related to court and legal systems. The Hindus were dealt with according to their own laws. Administration under the sultans. The whole sultanate was divided into provinces, and the sultan appointed governors to run them. The provinces were divided into jagirs, land holdings, which were given to the nobles. Muhammad and Feroz Taghlaq had abolished formally put an end to the Jagirdari system, as it gave power to the nobles, but other sultans continued it. The sultan was the head of the government, and all important decisions for the state were taken by him. He was also the commander in chief of the army. Under the sultan was the wazir or prime minister, a man chosen for his high level of learning, ability, culture, and refinement. Refinement, the process of removing impurities or unwanted elements from a substance. He carried out all the affairs of the state, including the finances, paying the salaries of civil servants, and giving stipends to scholars and charity to the poor. Stipends or stipend, a fixed regular sum paid as a salary or as expenses to a clergyman, teacher, or public official. The Prime Minister was assisted by the following ministries and officials. Divan-e-Ars, or the Ministry of Defense, took care of everything that had to do with the Sultan's army. Arze-Mamluk was responsible for maintenance of the army and cavalry. He also distributed their salaries. This was a very influential position. Divan-e-Risalat was the ministry for foreign affairs and dealt with the sultan's interaction with foreign rulers. Munshi-Mamluk, the Minister for Information, had to keep himself informed of everything that happened in the empire and report to the Sultan directly. Barde-Mamluk dealt with matters pertaining to intelligence about the state. He was so well paid that he was above temptation to take bribes. Divan Wizarat was the Ministry of Finance, a very important office. Musharraf-e Mamluk maintained the accounts of the state and was equal to the modern accountant general. Mustafa Mamluk supervised and examined the state's accounts. His post was equal to the modern auditor general. Sadrus Sadr Sadrus Sadr Qazi Mamluk dealt with religious matters, including distribution of zakat, scholars, and men of piety. Usually, one person held both offices and advised the Sultan on religious affairs. Diwane-in-Shah was the ministry in charge of correspondence and wrote all the letters for the Sultan to rulers of other states and departments. Furthermore, various rulers made changes and additions according to the need of their times. Pharaoh Taghlaq set up a public works department to look after construction and maintenance of roads, canal, and irrigation. Alauddin Khilji instituted instituted the standing army and kept a record of the horses in the cavalry. The rulers also set up karkhanas, factories to manufacture different articles such as cloth, arms, etc. At various articles of use for the royal household. The rulers of later dynasties built further on these administrative practices. Architecture under the sultans. The Turkish sultans did not bring any artisans with them to India, but they brought a different style of building. Here, artisan, a worker in a skilled trade, especially one that involves making things by hand. They introduced the simplicity and grandeur of the Islamic style of architecture in whatever they built. This was very different from the way Hindu temples were decorated and designed. They had to use local builders for building mosques and palaces. The buildings from this period are the Qutb Minar at Delhi, Quwwatul Islam Mosque next to it, the tomb of Iltutmish, and the Alai Darwaza. The arch and the dome, geometrical patterns, arabesques, calligraphic forms, and later enameled tiles gave a distinct Islamic look to the Sultanate buildings. Eventually, a new style came into being when decoration in the Indian style also appeared in the Sultanate buildings. Fancy carvings and delicate lettres, work in stone and marble began to be used in pillars, domes, and arches. This is found in the buildings at Delhi, Jaipur, and Bengal. Literacy developments under the sultans. Urdu emerged and grew as a language during the Delhi Sultanate. It started as a mixture of Persian, Turkish, Arabic, and Sanskrit in the army camps of the sultans. Urdu means camp in the Turkish language. It became a language of communication in the bazaars and wherever the sultans ruled. Soldiers and Sufis used it to speak to the common people, and traders and shopkeepers used it for buying and selling. In the 16th and 17th centuries, it developed as a literacy, as a literary language. One great poetry and prose was written in it. Urdu became a symbol of Muslim culture in North and South India but was as much a language in use by the Hindus. The sultans were patrons of education, and each one of them established madrasas and colleges and invited scholars to their courts. Many of the histories of the sultans were written by court historians such as Farishta, Barani, Afif, and Amir Khusro. The Sufi saints and orders, the most prominent feature of the early Muslim rule and the Delhi Sultanate was gradual creation of a new culture in the subcontinent. The Sufis were learned men who spread the message of Islam through peace. They settled in various areas and with their simple and appealing lifestyles made thousands of converts to Islam. The local people, such as the artisans, peasants, and farmers, found good religious leaders in the Sufis because they practiced equality more than the ulama who were not easily accessible. Abdullah Shah Ghazi 716 to 768. His ancestry can be traced back to the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. He came to Sindh around the time of Muhammad bin Qasim and preached the message of Islam to the fishermen and villagers of the coastal area. When he died in 768, he was buried according to his will on a hill overlooking the Arabian Sea, which today is Clifton in Karachi. Data Ganj Baksh 109 to 177. Ali bin Usman Hajweri or Data Ganj Baksh, as he is popularly known, died in Lahore in 177 and is buried there. His mausoleum is visited at all times of day and night by people from all over the country. His stay of 34 years in Lahore earned him thousands of followers in Islam. He wrote Kashful Mahjub, a history of all the sayings of Sufi saints from the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to his time. Lahore is called Data Ki Nagri because of his popular appeal. Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti. Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti brought the Chishtiya Silsila or order to Indian subcontinent. The Chishtiya order spread mainly in and around Delhi and the Doab region. He was born in Sistan and educated in Iran's great centers of learning. After traveling through several Islamic countries, he settled at Ajmer. He preached the message of piety, great respect for good and religion, humility, and complete devotion to Allah. After his death in 1236, Ajmer became a famous pilgrimage site where many devotees of the saint come each year to attend his Urs festival, usually linked to a saint's birthday. Both the sultans of Delhi and the Mughal emperors held him in high esteem. Nizamuddin Aulia 1236 to 1325. Not only was Nizamuddin Aulia from the Chishtiya order, but he had a scholarly bent of mind which made him follow an inquiry on the law of movement. He was born in Badon in North India but had settled in Delhi. He helped the needy and the poor and did not discriminate to treat others unfairly with a difference on the basis of their faith or caste. Whatever gifts were sent to him by the Sultan were distributed among the poor. Amir Khusru was his follower. He is buried in Delhi and his tomb is visited by people of all faiths. Sufi saints of Multan and Sindh: Bahauddin Zikriya, Sheikh Rukunuddin, Sheikh Fariduddin were from Multan and followed the Saharwardi order. Sheikh Bahauddin Zikriya 1182 to 1262. Sheikh Bahauddin Zikriya is the most famous of these saints. He joined the Sahawardi order after traveling to Jerusalem and Baghdad. He returned to Multan and set up a khanqa there. Khanqa, a hostel for students, and became known for his piety and scholarship. Sultan Iltutmish gave him the title of Sheikhul Islam. Sheikh Ruknuddin 1251 to 1335. Sheikh Ruknuddin, the grandson of Sheikh Bahauddin Zikriya, is better known as Shah Rukn Alam. He was held in great esteem by the Tughlaq and Khilji sultans. He was famous throughout the Muslim world and is buried in a magnificent tomb in Multan. Baba Farid Ganjeshakar Sheikh Fariduddin 1175 to 1265 came to be known as Baba Farid Ganj Shakar. This title means treasury of sugar, and sugar cane farmers seek his blessings when they boil their first crop for sugar. Born near Multan, he became a disciple of the Sufi saint Qutbuddin Bukhtiyar Kaki, after whom Qutbuddin Aibak named the Qutb Minar. He traveled to Baghdad and came back and settled at Ajodan by the river Satluj. Today, this town is known as Pakpatan and is a place of pilgrimage for his followers. Baba Farid was the first to compose Sufi poetry in the Punjabi language. Lal Shehbaz Qalandar, 1177 to 1274. His name was Sayyid Shah Hussain Marwandi, and he is the most popular Sufi saint of Sindh. He was born at Marwand in Iran in 1177 and died in 1274 at Sehwan in Sindh. Belonging to the Qalandariya order, Lal Shehbaz left his hometown in Iran to wander in search of truth and preach his message. He came to Makran and settled in Sindh. His title Lal Shehbaz means royal red falcon, and he is often shown wearing red robes. His shrine is famous for the free food distributed to the poor and the pilgrims. The Sultanate period saw interaction between Islam and Hinduism. Both continued to follow their own paths, but some adjustments took place. The Bhakti movement spread, and the teachings of Kabir and Guru Nanak tried to bring Islam and Hinduism closer. They preached the oneness of God and spoke against the caste system. However, Islam and Hinduism would continue to live side by side for another 450 years as two distinct ways of religious life. Now come to the questions. Question 1. How did Urdu develop as a language? Answer. Urdu emerged and grew as a language during the Delhi Sultanate. It started as a mixture of Persian, Turkish, Arabic, and Sanskrit in the army camps of the sultans. Urdu means camp in the Turkish language. Question 2. What evidence of Islamic influence do we see in the subcontinent's architecture? Answer. The buildings from this period are the Qutb Minar at Delhi, Quwwatul Islam Mosque next to it, the tomb of At-Tatmish, and the Alai Darwaza. Question 3. How do we know the histories of the Sultans of Delhi? Answer. Many of the histories of the sultans were written by court historians such as Farishta, Barani, Afif, and Amir Khusro. Question 4. What role did the Sufis play in the spread of Islam during the Delhi Sultanate? Answer. Sufis played a pivotal role in conversions to Islam. Since there was no caste system or division on the basis of birth in Islam, those who converted were treated as equals and given appointments according to merit. Question 5. Which characteristics of the Sufis impressed the people to convert to Islam? Answer. The Sufis were learned men who spread the message of Islam through peace. They settled in various areas, and their simple and appealing lifestyles made thousands of converts to Islam. Question 6. Name two Sufi reformers of Sindh. How is respect shown to them by the people? Answer. Sayyid Abdullah Shah Ghazi and Lal Shehbaz Qalandar were two famous reformers of Sindh. They earned a lot of followers. Their mausoleums are visited at all the time of day and night by people from all over the country. Question 7. What is the content of the book Kashful Mahjoob? Answer. Ali bin Usman Hajweri or Data Ganj Baksh wrote Kashful Mahjoob, a history of all the sayings of Sufi saints from the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to his time. Question 8. Name the two orders of the Sufis that came to India. Find out the differences between the two. Answer. Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti brought the Chishtiya order to India. The Chishtiya order mainly spread around Delhi and Adwab region. Bahauddin Zikriya, Sheikh Ruknuddin and Sheikh Fariduddin were from Multan and followed the Sahawardi order. Fill in the blanks. 1. The nobles were given grants of land for the maintenance of their armies. 2. The next most important position after the Sultan was the Wazir, Prime Minister. 3. The Diwan-e Risalat was responsible for matters dealing with foreign countries. 4. The Sadrus Sadr and Qazi Momalek decided court cases and gave justice. 5. Karkhanas or factories to make items of common use were set up by the rulers. 6. The sultans of Delhi gave a distinctly Islamic look to their buildings in India. 7. The tomb of Iltutmish and the Ali Darwaza are examples of their beautiful architecture. 8. The new language Urdu that emerged during the era of the Sultanate was made up of Persian, Turkish, Arabic, and Sanskrit languages. 9. The author of Kashful Majoob was Data Ganj Baksh. 10. The most famous Sufi order brought to India was the Chishtiya Silsila. 11. The title Shaykhul Islam was given by Sultan Iltutmish to the Sufi saint Sheikh Bahauddin Zikriya. 12. The two other religious reformers of the Delhi Sultanate were Kabir of the Bhakti movement and Guru Nanak. Thanks for listening. For new videos, don't forget to subscribe my channel. And if you like my videos, please share and like.